Welcome to an exciting exploration of the popular game, League of Legends, focusing on one of its iconic characters, Garen. At its core, League of Legends is a multiplayer online battle arena game where two teams go head-on in strategic combat, aiming to destroy the enemy's base. Each player controls a champion, a character with unique abilities and roles, and Garen is one such champion. Known for his might and resilience, Garen is a top-lane champion, a juggernaut who shines in the heat of battle. His tankiness, coupled with high damage output, makes him a formidable opponent on the battlefield. He's the very embodiment of strength and durability, a symbol of unyielding courage in the face of adversity. Garen is not just a champion, he's a statement, a declaration of endurance and power that echoes through the lanes and jungles of the game. Now that we have a basic understanding of Garen's and his role, it's time to delve into his build. Garen's strength in the game is heavily reliant on his unique abilities. Each ability, from his passive to his ultimate, plays a pivotal role in his gameplay. Let's break them down. First off, Garen's passive, Perseverance. This is what keeps him healthy throughout the game. After not taking damage for a few seconds, Garen regenerates a percentage of his maximum health. This allows him to stay in the lane longer and endure more skirmishes. The key here is to avoid unnecessary damage to keep the passive up and running. Next, we have his Q ability, Decisive Strike. This is Garen's primary tool for engaging enemies. When activated, Garen's next attack will deal bonus damage and silence his target, making them unable to cast abilities for a brief moment. Additionally, it gives a burst of speed, making it useful for chasing down enemies or making a quick escape. Then there's his W ability, Courage. When activated, Garen reduces incoming damage and crowd control effects for a short duration. It's a defensive ability that can turn the tide of a fight, especially when used wisely to mitigate high damage or crowd control abilities from enemies. His E ability, Judgment, is Garen's bread and butter. When activated, Garen rapidly spins around, dealing physical damage to nearby enemies. It's a great ability for clearing minion waves and dealing sustained damage in team fights. Finally, his ultimate, Demacian Justice. This ability is what makes Garen a threat to low-health enemies. It's an execution ability that deals massive true damage to an enemy champion, based on how much health they're missing. It's a game changer, capable of turning a losing fight into a triumphant victory. Understanding each of these abilities, their uses, and their timing is crucial for mastering Garen. They're not just about dealing damage, but about sustaining in fights, controlling your enemies, and seizing the right moment to strike. With Garen's abilities at our disposal, we're ready to look at his build. Building Garen effectively requires strategic item selection. Let's dive into the specifics. Garen's core items are the backbone of his build, providing the stats and bonuses he needs to thrive on the battlefield. First on the list is the Black Cleaver. This item is a staple in Garen's build for good reasons. It not only provides health and attack damage, but also reduces enemy armor with every hit. This feature is especially useful when you're up against tanky champions, allowing Garen to cut through their defenses like a hot knife through butter. Next up, we have Steric's Gauge. This item is all about survivability. It gives Garen a hefty boost in health, a bit of bonus attack damage, and a unique passive that grants a shield when Garen takes significant damage. This item is perfect for those heart-stopping moments when you're soaking up damage for your team and need that extra bit of durability. Lastly, we come to the Dead Man's Plate. This item is the perfect blend of offense and defense for Garen. It provides a substantial amount of health and armor, making Garen tougher to take down. But that's not all. The Dead Man's Plate also gives Garen bonus movement speed, allowing him to close gaps quickly and catch fleeing enemies off guard. These three items synergize perfectly with Garen's abilities. The Black Cleaver works hand in hand with Garen's E ability, Judgment, shredding enemy armor with each spin. Steric's Gauge provides much-needed survivability during Garen's all-in engagements, complementing his W ability, Courage. And the Dead Man's Plate enhances Garen's mobility, allowing him to make the most of his Q ability, Decisive Strike, for those crucial engages or disengages. These items form the core of Garen's build, but they're just one part of the equation. Next, we look at runes. Runes offer an additional way to customize Garen's abilities and stats. Think of them as an extra layer of armor and weaponry. Today, we'll delve into Garen's rune build, focusing on the Precision primary path and the Resolve secondary path. First up is the Precision primary rune path. This path is all about enhancing damage and sustain in battles. The keystone of this path, and Garen's best friend, is Conqueror. This rune allows Garen to gain adaptive force as he continually attacks enemy champions, stacking up to 12 times. Each stack adds more damage, and at full stacks, Garen also heals for a percentage of the damage he deals. This makes Garen a formidable force in extended fights. Next, we have Triumph. This little gem grants Garen a burst of health and additional gold upon takedowns, allowing him to bounce back swiftly from fights. Then, we have Legend, Tenacity. This rune increases Garen's tenacity as he scores takedowns, making him more resistant to crowd control effects. Last Stand, as the name suggests, boosts Garen's damage when his health is low. This allows Garen to turn the tide of battle even when on the brink of defeat. Let's shift gears to the secondary rune path, Resolve. This path enhances Garen's durability. Second Wind is an excellent choice here. This rune heals Garen over time after taking damage from an enemy champion, helping him to outlast his opponents. Unflinching is another great pick. This rune grants Garen tenacity and slow resistance after using summoner spells or when his health is low, making him nigh unstoppable. These runes, combined with Garen's natural resilience and power, turn him into a true juggernaut on the battlefield. Whether you're battling in the top lane or leading the charge in team fights, these runes will make Garen a force to be reckoned with. With these runes, Garen becomes a formidable opponent, but strategy is key, so let's talk about gameplay. Understanding Garen's build is crucial, but so is knowing how to utilize it in gameplay. Now, let's dive into Garen's gameplay strategy, starting with the early game. In the early phase, Garen's primary role is to farm. Farming is the pillar of success for any top laner, especially for Garen. His Q ability, Decisive Strike, not only helps you trade blows with your opponent, but also makes last-hitting minions a breeze. Remember, the more minions you farm, the quicker you can build your items. As the game progresses into the mid-game, Garen's role shifts a bit. Now you'll need to balance between farming and roaming. Roaming allows Garen to create pressure on other parts of the map. Use your Q's movement speed boost to quickly get to other lanes and help your team secure objectives. Speaking of objectives, they are vital in the mid-game. A single dragon or Rift Herald can tip the scales in your team's favor, so always keep an eye on them and try to secure them whenever possible. Now let's talk about the late game. In the late game, Garen's role becomes significantly more team-oriented. You're no longer just a solo top laner, you're the team's front line. Your job is to soak up as much damage as possible and disrupt the enemy's formation with your Q and E abilities. Remember, your ultimate Demacian justice can turn any team fight in your favor. Use it wisely to execute low-health enemies and swing the momentum towards your team. In summary, Garen's gameplay strategy revolves around farming in the early game, roaming and securing objectives in the mid-game, and frontlining in team fights in the late game. Each of these roles is equally important, and mastering them will put you on the path to becoming a formidable top laner. Mastering Garen's gameplay strategy is the final step to becoming a true force on the top lane. We've covered a lot of ground today, so let's quickly recap. We've delved into the heart of Garen, a champion in League of Legends who stands as a beacon of might. We've dissected his abilities, each one designed to bring the hammer of justice onto his foes. We've explored his build, understanding how each item, from the Black Cleaver to the Sterix Gauge, amplifies his strength and durability. Not to forget the runes, the keystones of his power. We've seen how Grasp of the Undying, Demolish, Conditioning and Overgrowth in synergy with Triumph and Last Stand can turn Garen into an unstoppable force. But remember, it's not just about the build, it's about the strategy. We've analyzed his gameplay, highlighting the importance of timing, positioning and strategic engagements. So there you have it, a comprehensive guide to mastering Garen. Remember, practice makes perfect. So keep honing your skills, and soon you'll be leading your team to victory with Garen.